Are we live? I think. We are. We are live. So let me fix the thumbnail real quick and put up some links, and we will be ready to roll. Also, I have somebody like hate commenting right now on my Carnifex video, and it's amusing as always. Dang it, where do I fix the thumbnail? Hang on. Make sure the stream's working right. We will be starting at Rammstein in just a minute, so bear with me here. Dang it all. To edit the dang thumbnail. Why is it not letting me do it? Oh, here we go. I'm a dummy. Ugh, I gotta like send it to myself. It's alright, I'll give everyone a chance to get up in her. Okay, get that. Perfect. Hey, what's up, T-Pegs? Good, I'm glad you're enjoying the Leave album, man. That's my buddy. And if you didn't watch that metalcore history video podcast episode I did, that's with the band, and we did that together. That was a really good time, so you should check that out too. What's up, Juan? How's it going? We are going to quote Halo, finish the fight today with this collection. Finally took 3 videos, but it's a trilogy now. That's the way I look at it. So let me just double check that the rest of my settings are all good. I think they are. That looks good. Make sure my audio's coming through fine. Oh, now I've got an ad. Yay. I guess that's good. That means I'm getting paid. And I say, if you can, then you should. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the idea, and I'm glad that worked out, because in the past I've done episodes with smaller bands, and they haven't done as well, but I think us starting to switch over to having more of a topic instead of just like, let's interview this band, has been going well. I'm still hoping to do one. I wish I had time to do more, but I just don't, because it's just coordinating schedules. But I am hoping to talk with Ped from Frontier this month, since his new album is coming out on like the 1st of October. So we've been talking for like 2 years. So I think we'll have a good conversation. We'll see. But let's go ahead and get started. I know there's not a ton of people in here yet, but they'll just have to pick up where they pick up, because I am determined to finish this thing. So we left off with Protest the Hero. We are picking up with Rammstein, and we've got my 4 favorite Rammstein albums. I need to put OBS up instead of this video, because it's not synced up right. All right, so we've got Herzeleid to kick things off. Love the debut. Love its features in Lost Highway, which is one of my favorite David Lynch films. Mulholland Drive's my personal favorite. Sehnsucht, of course. My personal favorite, Mutter, as I talked about in the tier list, and Ryza. Maybe at some point I'll pick up more of them, but those are my personal favorites, and so that's what I've got right now. Yeah, man, I'm excited for the new Frontier, too. Alright, what else we got here? All right, we've got some kind of misfit one-offs here. We got Reaping Asmodia, which is appropriate because they have a new album coming out this year, and I'm super excited for it. This album kicks so much ass. It's like super technical death metal for fans of stuff like Archspire, I would say. We got a classic here, though, with The Red Chord. OG deathcore goodness with some mathcore elements as well. We've got Red Dawn with Algorithm of Destruction, which is more solid tech death. It's like a random tech death section here. Ooh, we got Regarde le Homme Tomber with Exile. Amazing, atmospheric black metal band. They dropped an album, I think, last year that was also very good. Probably one of my favorite black metal bands, or black metal albums of that year. Ooh, Remembering Never. I did a little retro review of this album a while back because I just love it so much. And people don't talk about it a ton, but I find every time I bring it up, people are like, dude, that album is sick. Ooh, another band I'd love to hear some more stuff from, Replicire. Awesome, like, progressive death metal with, like, some interesting, like, kind of straight proggy twists in some of the vocals. So kind of mixing death vocals with, like, more prog vocals and really cool musicianship. They're awesome. Yeah, Furnace Fest, I know, I heard. Oh, and man, this really is the tech death section, just by chance. So we got Revocation. I was not a Revocation fan. I thought that they were really overrated. Oh, that this guy is still hate commenting on my Carnifex video, speaking of which. But this album came out, the Outer Ones, and I've loved them ever since. So I'm excited to hear the new one. Hey, welcome, Jonathan. Yeah, new subscriber. That's great. I've been searching a long time for a channel with such good content. Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate that because I've been working hard. And honestly, like every single video, my goal is to outdo my last video for the most part. Sometimes I want to get stuff up quickly. Maybe it's not always the top quality, but I really do try to make it better and better. And yeah, if you want to get a laugh, then check out the Carnifex video. That was my last review yesterday. This guy is just like repeatedly hate commenting because I didn't love... He's one of those people, he's like a deathcore elitist. He's just like, you guys aren't true Carnifex fans because you're talking about World War X and you should be talking about this album, blah, blah, blah. So shout out to his family. All right. Excuse me. We got River Black with River Black. Kind of a overlooked album that not a lot of people talked about. I'm forgetting now who, but this is sort of like kind of a super group with members of other bands. I just can't recall who's all in it, but it's kind of like a sludgy hardcore kind of thing. Really good. Neck of the Woods, which I have been talking to death. I almost wore my shirt today too. You've probably seen this shirt in a number of videos. Awesome metalcore album that was also very overlooked last year. And the guy from Misery Signals, I think, guest vocals on one of the tracks. Yeah, dude, deathcore elitists are so obnoxious. Rivers of Nile, also appropriate to cover right now. I am very excited for the new album, but of course, pretty much everybody loved Where Owls Know My Name. I'm interested with this new one. The singles sound completely different and have these like electronic elements, so that sounds really cool. Little mini collection here. We got some Rotting Christ. We've got Sanctus Diabolos. Probably my personal favorite. We've also got Ealo. I love that cover too. I happen to find this used somewhere for like $5, and it's like this super digipack with extra content and the slide cover and everything. And then I've also got Rituals. I was not as big a fan of their last album. That's another band, too, I've been planning on doing a tier list for a while, but I just have not pulled the trigger yet. So probably maybe when they drop a new one. Was Jesse Zaraska or Carl Schubach on the Neck of the Woods album? Those names sound so familiar, but I'm not always great with remembering names. I'm better with faces, so maybe let me know which... Are they related to Misery Signals? Let me keep going while we're talking, though. Sacramentum, Far Away from the Sun, classic black metal album. Kind of less talked about from that era, but still a great one. Ooh, we're getting close to another collection here, but let me round out a few more odds and ends. Satyricon with Nemesis Divina, another black metal classic. I thought I had Dark Medieval Times. Oh, here it is. They were out of order. Dark Medieval Times. Another big classic there. From two different eras, really. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Misery Signals Focus. Feels weird when you don't use your skull mask. I know, it is weird. But there's just no way I'm doing a full live stream with sunglasses and a sweaty rubber mask on. It's bad enough with the mouth mask. Ooh, one of my personal favorites. My favorite black metal album of, I think, was this 2018? Maybe 2017? I can't remember now. Maybe it was even earlier. But it's Shamash with Triangle. It is very rare that I enjoy a double album, but this is technically a triple album, and it is fucking phenomenal. And for my money, the best Shamash album. But they are pretty damn consistent, too. If you haven't checked out Shamash, one of the best modern black metal bands out there. No, my collection is not on Discogs. I don't think I'll ever do that either. I just have like too many things I'm already keeping track of. Any modern black metal recommendations? Well, Shamash, for one. And then, I mean, the stuff that we put on the best black metal of 2021 list collab that we did, I'll probably have some more. This month in particular, there's a lot of good black metal and black and death metal coming out in September and I think October too. So I'll have plenty more to say on those, but I did share some in my upcoming September releases video. Titan for one, Lucifer, and Sermon of Fire. Those are all kind of more black and death, but they're like black metal enough that I would say they're fair recommendations. All right, we got Section. Speaking of Frontier, we've got Ped's other project, which sounds almost exactly like Frontier, but a little bit looser, I would say, a little bit more like D-beat driven, maybe a little punkier. Love that one. All right, and then we've got a nice little mini discography here, not all the albums. Ah, shit. Dropping stuff. Hang on. Well, let me close. Oh shit, I forgot to put the link in Discord too. Let me do that real quick before I forget, so I can maximize people's awareness that this is happening right now. At everyone. I'll put it in this one too. Oops, that's not what I want. All right, now I can close out of that so it stops making noise. Yeah, Section's super cool for sure. New Mercognitum, yes. I kind of slept on that, and then I think the Forge Master Metal guys ended up having that as their choice for the black metal album, and I listened to it after that, and I was like, holy shit, this is good. I like their previous material, too. The end of Metal Trench's CD collection cinematic universe. That's right, it is a cinematic universe now. This is, I almost called the stream, like, my metal album collection, The Return of the King, or something like that, just as a little goof, but I just kept it simple. New Woad, yes, Woad is still probably my favorite black and death metal album of the year. Spectral Wound, also really good for sure. All right, let's keep going. We got Septic Flesh. In terms of my favorite era of this band, starting with Sumerian Demons, my favorite of their kind of earlier albums, But then we move into the real big boys with Communion. We've got The Great Mass, probably my personal favorite. We've got Titan, which I feel like was unfairly sort of maligned by the critics, because I think it's almost as good as The Great Mass. And Codex Omega, which I thought fell kind of a few steps back from those other albums, but is still good. And by the way, I keep getting asked, when am I going to drop part 2 of my Septic Flesh tier list? It's been recorded since the first one was done, but I'm just waiting to add the new album, which they said was supposed to come out like last year. It got announced, I think, in 2019, and then they went totally radio silent on it. There are no updates, so I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe I'll eventually drop it, but I'm kind of holding on to it. It will be funny, though, because I think the way I look, because I recorded that like almost a year ago, and I look a little different now than I did then. Woad, number 2 album this year. What's your number 1? Feminazgul, Avendin, and Trespasser for modern black metal. I think I've heard of Feminazgul. That's a great name, by the way. I tried getting into Septic Flesh, but I couldn't, just don't know why. It took me a while for it to kind of click, so I'd say it's a band that's worth continuing to go back to, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. Sumerian Demons is their best. What's up, Adam, by the way? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I know some people like their older albums. It's so like doomy, which, you know me, I'm not big on that. So I do love Sumerian Demons, though. Number 1, Ultra Pop. Yeah, that's a great choice. All right, we are ready almost to move down a row. We have Seputus with Man Does Not Give. I don't think I bought a physical copy of the new one, but I do have 2 interviews with Doug from Seputus. He's one of my favorite recurring guests on the podcast, because he will just talk forever if you let him. All right, next row, we have Cerex, another awesome technical death metal band. Love that cover, too. This is the Phobos Demos Suite. Came out, I think, in 2018, maybe 2019. We got a throwback here. Seven Dust. I got this for like $1 out of a bin. But Animosity, man, like this was definitely a formative album for me, as we were all getting into new metal at that time, as one did. That was that era for sure. Hang on, let me make sure I'm putting these back right so they're easy to return to the shelf. Our Place of Worship is Silence, top tier Black and Death for sure. Yeah, that ended up in my best albums of August. Shadow of Intent, Melancholy. For my money, one of the top modern deathcore acts around right now that people should be paying attention to. No face reveal today, but I do thank you all for 6K subscribers, and we're already like leaping our way to 7K, so we're just going to keep the ball rolling. I will not be doing an Iron Maiden review. I wish I cared more, because I see, Quest for Metal and the Metal Meltdown getting, thousands of views off of that, which, is great. I just don't care enough. I didn't like the singles. I don't have much to say. And honestly, what it would amount to is a negative review with tons of views, most of which are just going to hate comment and click away. It'll get me some more ad money, but it's not really going to amount to much else. And the people that do subscribe from it, I don't cover a lot of heavy metal, so they'll end up being dead subscribers. So ultimately, I just feel like it's not a good choice for me. So yeah, ultimately, I do not like it, though. Aren't Shadow of Intent based on Halo? I think, yes. I've heard that before, but now I'm forgetting. But they're awesome. Like, they've got, it's like deathcore mixed with Dimmu Borgir. Oh, we've got Psy with Imaginary Soundscape, which is like their big classic. I actually got this for like $3 from FYE, which was a great find, because this is like not an album you generally run into in the wild, and especially not for a couple bucks. And then we have their later album, Psy, Heir to Despair, which is great. I wish I had a physical copy of Grave Grave something. I'm forgetting what that album's called, but it's the one with Out of the Grave on it. That's probably my favorite Psy album. We've got Signs of the Swarm with Vital Deprivation. I actually forgot that I had a Signs of the Swarm album. And are they the one that I just listened to their new one? I listen to so much music that I lose track of like what I've talked about. I even reviewed an album twice on accident once. This was before... Oh, I did, yeah. So I've listened to the new album Absolver. I don't think I'll do a review on it because, to be honest, not super stoked on it. It's fine, but I don't know. I kind of feel the same way I did about the Carnifex album. Legendary acts are tough to review because they don't change their sound or expand it. Yeah, I mean, that's true too. Plus the production is just so flat and lifeless. I think those songs will sound much better live. Have you ever checked out Maudlin of the Well? I don't think I have. I'll have to check that out. Shadow of Intent cover of Lamb of God is pretty good. I could see that. Desolate One says, I love Old Maiden, but stuck in a rut music just bores me. Well, you're in the right place. Hopefully I can find you something you can enjoy. What album did you review twice on accident? I can't even remember what it was, and it was before I was doing video reviews, so it was just a written review. But I remember it vividly, like they both ended up going, because I do the reviews days and sometimes weeks earlier, and I had already reviewed it, moved on to other stuff, and then came back to it, didn't realize I'd already reviewed it, and wrote a completely separate review. And that just happens sometimes. Super interesting prog avant-garde metal. Yeah, for Psy, I imagine you're talking about. Jonathan Marker, are you going to review the new Aborted? Yes, I am. In fact, am I doing a tier list? I wonder what might be coming out tomorrow. We'll have to see. I do love me some Aborted, and I have something special planned, though, for the review of the album that I hope everyone enjoys, because I really had fun making it a little bit different this time. Sixth, who I rage about all the time, one of the most underrated mathcore bands. This is the album I actually covered on my Mathcore for Dummies video part 2 that I just put out not too long ago. Check that out if you are a fan. And then I've got their later stuff too. I've got their Opacities EP, which is fantastic. Great comeback. And then The Future in Whose Eyes, which is a solid album. I wouldn't say it's as good as those other ones, though. Did you check out the Bulb album? A little bit, but I've been so busy. I guess I might have time to go back to it now, because I am actually just sort of basically in a waiting period for more albums coming right now. My friend Mitchell Nolte did the art for Aborted's recent EP. That's awesome, man, because it's great. I love that. This is a great era for Aborted's artwork, too. Like, they're in a renaissance for how their albums look now. Any plans to review New Exodus, Whitechapel, or Obscura? Most likely, yes. To probably all of those. Exodus, we'll see. Whitechapel, I probably will do because it's definitely in my wheelhouse. I've been a fan of them for a while. I haven't really enjoyed their newer material as much, though. So we'll see. It just depends on if I have enough to say about it. And then Obscura is like a definite, but it probably won't be a standalone review because, unfortunately, it's just, they're not big enough to, drive enough people to that. They'll probably be in like a best of the month roundup, depending on how good the album is. Yeah, Death of a Dead Day, incredible. Check out the band Sea Mosquito. Cover Lamb of God, Walk With Me in Hell. Very Deathspell Omega-esque. Ooh, that would be interesting. I love both Deathspell Omega and Lamb of God, so I'd be interested to hear a mashup of those. The artwork for, La Grande Masquerade. Yeah, that was a great cover, too. Oh no! I was afraid of that. I just dropped crap. And I broke a case. Nice. What CD just fell out? What is this? I don't even know what this is. This? Yes, it is. Crap. Alright. Alright. Yeah, I broke this, I think. Well, I've got Silence Lies Fear, which is I know, man down. Shadows of the Wasteland. Also recommend their album before this. They are a pretty obscure melodic death metal band from a place that I can't even properly pronounce. This case is beat to shit. I probably need to give them another one, but highly recommend them. You can find them on Bandcamp. I'm not sure about this album, but you can find some of their other stuff there. Yeah, I already said I'm not a big fan of the new Maiden album. Won't be doing a review. Wish I cared more because I could really love them tasty reviews. Quest for Metal's review is already almost to like 10K in like 24 hours. Another obscure little EP from Sleeping in Gethsemane called Burrows. I saw these guys live in Chicago and just picked up their CD from the merch booth. I gotta figure out what order these things fucking go in now. JKL. Ooh. We're getting to some good stuff here. Okay, so I think it'll be like this. Okay, so we got some Skeleton Witch here. We've got Forever Abomination. Beyond the Permafrost. Love these album covers too, by the way. I also love their logo. And Serpents Unleashed, still with the sticker on it. This is my personal favorite. You've probably seen the poster behind me, kind of down there. Great stuff. I do not like their newer stuff with the newer vocalist, unfortunately. I know that, like, Chance has his issues, but I just love his, like, phlegmy vocal quality. I feel like it just fits their sound better. The only other person I could see fronting Skeleton Witch is probably Charlie Fell from Lord Mantis, because they have a similar kind of quality. Or maybe the guy from Indian, too, who subbed into Lord Mantis for a while. What is this? Oh, we've got... Alright. Didn't Deathspell Mega Singer get busted for being... Yeah, he's... I mean, there's some pretty damning evidence that he's not a cool dude. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I really love the music. And I don't know him personally. I don't know his deal. They've made statements about it that you can take him or leave him. But yeah, he's not someone I probably hang with, but I still, love those albums. They're classics. Favorite bands to see live? The number 12 Looks Like You, I saw twice, and they were amazing both times. And that BT Bam show I just saw was amazing as well. The sound really kind of sucked. Myself and Alan, who was nice enough to take me, he complained too, like their sound setup was not very good for that venue, unfortunately. Desolate One, I don't know much about that band. I just like the music. Should read more about them for sure. Yeah, I mean, feel free, but art versus the artist, exactly. All right, Slayer. They're out of order now. South of Heaven, Rain and Blood, and Seasons in the Abyss. For my money, the kind of trilogy of greatness when it comes to them. And then albums I've just talked about recently for kind of sad reasons, but also just to continue sharing that this was the album that got me into metal to begin with, ultimately. I listened to plenty of metal before this, but this was the first album I went out and got and started buying albums from this point forward and kind of considered myself a metalhead. So yeah, Slipknot, self-titled, and then of course Iowa. And in my mind, they will never top these. I'm always interested to hear what they put out next, but not that excited either. No expectations. Going more underground again, we've got Sloth Herder with No Pity, No Sunrise. This is some raunchy blackened death metal that you can find on Bandcamp and is well worth it. So I'm trying to get this stuff out without making a disaster. All right, we've got... Oh, wait, what happened here? Hang on. Things are falling down and getting out of place. All right, so more underground. I mean, it's still a new metal album, but yeah, I mean, it's super heavy. Absolutely. Iowa felt too polished. I felt the same way when Iowa came out, actually, because I actually remember when we listened to it when it first dropped, and we were kind of like, oh, this isn't as raw as the self-titled, which is true, but it's obviously grown on me quite a bit. We've got Sludge with their 3-disc anthology here, which I highly recommend picking up off of Bandcamp, and it includes Born of Slime, Gastronomicon, and Dim and Slime-Ridden Kingdoms. So if you want like a bunch of their discography, you can get it all at once. And then their magnum opus, I think, Esoteric Malacology. Have an interview with these guys. One of my favorite interviews I've ever done. Matt is just a cool dude and very interesting. He has quite the past. Soilwork, The Chainheart Machine, some classic melodic death metal. Soulfly, hell yeah. Love the self-titled still. Love Primitive. They have their cringy moments, but I still love those albums. And funny thing, too, at the BT Bam show, there was a guy, like, trying to get fresh with his girlfriend in the audience, and he had a big, the Soulfly symbol tattooed on his neck. And I just thought that was kind of amusing. Sound of Memories. Oh, probably shouldn't have shown that. I get in trouble. To Deliverance. More melodic death metal. More underground. Can't wait for the new album. Did you listen to the new Every Time I Die track? Oh, of course, dude. I cannot wait for that. Self-title's so good. I was a step more. Let's get singles. If I hear your 555 and 666 one more time. Yeah. We've got more kind of like atmospheric black metal, but also like with an acoustic side. I'm going to censor this one a little bit. From Spectral. We got Stained with Dysfunction. Speaking of new metal, this one's got Mud Shovel on it. Dude, I fucking love Mud Shovel. I don't give a shit. And Break the Cycle, which I will still argue is a fantastic album. It got big for a reason, and I think it was really important in drawing in a lot of new metal fans that might not have otherwise gotten into the genre. And then we have a Static Lullaby with And Don't Forget to Breathe, kind of classic metalcore, post-hardcore album from a band you really don't hear about much anymore. Yeah, spicy cover. What else? You gonna review the new Bellacore? Of course I am. Fucking love Bellacore. Oh god, Stained Mud Shovel, their only good song. They had some bangers. Break the Cycle has some good songs on it, I think. But I understand why people hate them too, and I hate everything after that. Like the Grey album came out, and even as a kid, I was like, this fucking sucks. Moving on here. Making some progress. Ooh, we have Static X with the great, Wisconsin Death Trip. Personal favorite. So many good songs on there. We got some Stray from the Path with Make Your Own History. And also Anonymous, which is my personal favorite from them if you like metalcore mixed with like Rage Against the Machine. I love that I own this because this is like a guilty pleasure because this album is super cringe. Super cringe. It's the one that had that stupid like alt-right Goodnight song. Goodnight Alt-Right. It is a lame song with a lame music video, but it is catchy as fuck, and I could not stop listening to this album even though everything about it was so cringe. So this is like the definition of a guilty pleasure for me. And also Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die guests on Strange Fiction. So yeah, really catchy, entertaining songs. And an opposite example of separate the art from the artist. Like, I don't really like them as people, but what can I say? I love listening to that album. It's hilarious, but also really entertaining. Yeah, and they do some good cheer. They do some good stuff, but their political hot takes are just so infantile. I'm like, you guys are grown-ass men. Like, you're writing lyrics of like a 14-year-old. Suicide Silence, classic here with The Cleansing. Love that cover. Very just memorable. You think of deathcore, and I immediately like think of that cover, just reflexively. No Time to Bleed, and my personal favorite actually, The Black Crown, where they truly owned that. Hey, we're basically like 1 foot in nu metal, and even had Jonathan Davis guest on at least one of the songs. I really like this album, and this is the album I've been using as an argument because I had so many Slaughter to Prevail stands in my review of the new album that I did not particularly enjoy, being like, oh, this is like brand new, like how many bands are mixing nu metal with deathcore? I'm like, dude, deathcore is one of the founding elements. Where do you think all that groove comes from in deathcore? Like, that's nu metal, and Suicide Silence was doing this all the way back in 2011 and going back earlier than that, really. So it's nothing new. If you like the album, fine, but don't try to argue that it's something new and original. It's not. Will you be reviewing Dream Theater's new album? Probably not. I'm not a big Dream Theater fan. If I get the promo, I might check it out, and if I enjoy it, if it surprises me, maybe I will. Static X was the last band I was into before I got into black metal. That's cool. Yeah, Wayne, cool dude. R.I.P. for sure. Black Crown is great, but I think it's the reason that most deathcore bands sound like heavy butt rock. It's probably true, and I think that's why that album does get shit, but it's a great album. It's a great album. Last one with Mitch, too. Also, rest in peace. I'd argue that Static X is the heaviest of the nu metal era. Their discography taken as a whole, I don't think I would agree with that, because they got into some like softer territory, but they did come back with a vengeance on Cannibal. That was a great album when they kind of like ditched the clean singing stuff they were trying to do. Yeah, Jonathan Davis did a song with Suicide Silence, and it's great. I'm trying to remember the name of the song, but I can't. But it's on this album. And it's not even, you'd think they would like put that front and center on like the track listing, but they don't. Yeah, Teehee. Yeah, I'm actually a little bit of a Suicide Silence apologist for that album. I actually will argue that that album should score, and I did a tier list, and I ranked that album higher than the new album, Become the Hunter, because even though Become the Hunter is more of a deathcore album and probably pleased the fans, it is just so bland and boring. Whereas at least the self-titled is interesting and different. So it gets extra points for that. So I will give it that at least. Yeah, Korn's great, of course. Teehee, most nu metal softened up at some point. I was disappointed with the Alien. Yeah, sounds like a mashup of all the grooves in one song, yeah. Okay, Suffering Hour. This is their previous album. We've all been raving about the new one lately, but this is In Passing Ascension, which I argue is an even better album than the new one, but they're all good. And another obscure one here with Summoned and Sessions. Really cool, trippy, progressive, technical death metal. I'd argue that some of like the bass work and stuff reminds me of Dream Theater, but it's very aggressive, like super duper aggressive stuff. All right, we've got Svart Crown with Ab Reaction, which I think is their best album so far. The new one's also good, which I have right here. Wolves Among the Ashes. But the production was a little dense. Like, there's kind of too much going on. I kind of liked the looser, groovier feel of Ab Reaction. We've got Sulfur Aeon with Gateway to the Antisphere. If you like Behemoth and Lovecraftian horror, then you should definitely check out Sulfur Aeon on Bandcamp. Summoning the Lich, one of my favorite death metal albums of this year so far. If you like the Black Dahlia Murder, these guys basically sound like early the Black Dahlia Murder. Almost exactly, but they do it so well that I don't even care. Like, it's really good. It's just like another Black Dahlia album, basically. Symbolic, Collapse and Agony. These guys are kind of like a really depressive sounding death metal band. They're not death doom, but there's just something about their vibe that's like super melancholy and mopey, and it's great. Symphony in Peril, Lost Memories, and Faded Pictures. This is the band that was formed by one of the earlier Zao singers before the current one came along. And just really great, solid metalcore. They only had 2 albums. They had that, and they had The Horror's Trophy. These album covers are so, like, of their time, too. Like, every metalcore 2000s cover looked like this. It's like Converge kind of started that trend, too. Like, clearly this is inspired by, like, Jane Doe and stuff like that. Everybody had to have, like, the stark cover with, like, a female's, like, face, or they're floating or bleeding or something. System of a Down with System of a Down, my personal favorite. I don't think they'll ever quite beat this album. Sweet Pea, Sugar, No, Soil. Man, Soil is such a great song. Why the fuck did you take them away from us, you motherfuckers? Toxicity, of course. And I actually don't have the other System albums. I was just thinking today that I might add those. Not a big fan of Steal This Album, but Mesmerize and Hypnotize have definitely grown on me. I will catch up on the chat in just a second, but let me just get through this row because I want to keep up a pace here. Ooh, yeah, we got, speaking of good black metal, we've got Toke, one of my favorite black metal musicians, just period. Saw them live, and I even dragged Joanna to go see them, and she loved every second of it. She's not even really into metal, but she had such a blast at that Toke show. Like, of all things, it's kind of funny. We've got Björgvin, and I'm not going to read the full title. It's all in Norwegian. We've got Dodskvad. I love how even on the album itself, it has like ... Dodskvad. It doesn't write the whole album title on its own CD. We've got the self-titled, which is not their debut, just happened to be self-titled. We've got Norges Vapen, which is one of my personal favorites. This is with the infamous Mirror that has the banjo solo on it that they did play live, by the way, and it was glorious. We got Stridden Hughes, and that's it for now. I don't have their newest one because I just wasn't. It kind of took many steps back to just being a very bland, kind of basic black metal album. But I love me some Toke. We've got Tala for some more new metal. For my money, the only band like really doing, besides the deathcore bands that are doing new metal well, like Tala is the only like straight up new metal band I really like that are new. Taproot, classic new metal. Amazing stuff. Tardive Dyskinesia with Harmonic Confusion. Cool little obscure technical progressive death metal album. Textures, which we were just talking about the other day. I was mad because Banger was listing new albums that had dropped, and they're like, oh yeah, the new Textures album. And I'm like, wait a minute, they got back together? And it turned out it was just like a reissue of an old album. And I was just like, fuck you guys. And we've got These Arms Are Snakes with Tail Swallower and Dove. Great kind of like mathcore, noise rock, kind of post-hardcore stuff. All right, so I'll catch up with the chat a little bit here. Where did I leave off here? Okay. Even though it isn't metal, I'd recommend everyone here check out John Zorn's Naked City. I've been told to like catch up with John Zorn forever, and I still just haven't, so I need to do that. Especially, didn't he do some stuff with Mike Patton? Need to, and also, I think maybe Pusciato from the Dillinger Escape Plan. It came out at the wrong time, yeah. Svark Crown's first 2 albums, delicious, absolutely. Did you check out New Animals as Leaders track? Yes, and I loved it. And I loved the video, and it's kind of appropriate that you bring that up because it reminded me of something else that we're just about to talk about. Check out Aristarchos, their UK's answer to Oculus. Excellent, I love Oculus. Dem dance moves, though, for sure. I think Born of Osiris has some of the tackiest deathcore covers with some of the best music. I could somewhat agree with that. I kind of like their aesthetic because it's very branded. Like, you see one of their covers and you instantly know it's theirs. But I could see where you're coming from with that. I think Rage Against the Machine, Fever 333, Boy Sets Fire, and Bad Religion nail the politics that Straight from the Path tries to do. I could kind of see that. I find, like, even listening to old Bad Religion albums, as much as I love them, even now, though, I can't, like, I don't have that yet, like, youthful angstiness anymore. Like, being a dad and having a mortgage and everything, I feel like kind of, like, shakes a lot of that out of you, to the point where I listen to some of that and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. These Arms Are Snakes are insane, for sure. And Tala is rad, absolutely. Another one of my favorite newer interviews I've done, too, with Justin, who is awesome. Appropriate. We got Tierfing with their classic album, Vensinesvir. I can never pronounce this album correctly, but it's a cool album. They put out a new album. I thought I was going to review it, but unfortunately the vocals ended up not being very good, and I just knocked it out of my queue. What else? We've got... I don't need that. Oh, here we go. All right, so speaking of animals as leaders, that music video very much reminded me of Tool. So we've got the entire... Why is that upside down? Tool discography. We've got Opiate. Yeah, going all the way back to their first EP. We've got Undertow, which I love the Henry Rollins guest appearance on this album, too. I'm naked and fearless, and my fear is naked. We've got Anima, Depending on the Day, sometimes my personal favorite. I love how weird and experimental it gets, but also great songs. And then Other Days Lateralis is my favorite, and that's the album that kind of got me into them. And then we've got 10,000 Days, which, and yes, I have the classic one with the 3D viewer screen and everything. And then I have the crazy, I never buy stuff like this, but for Tool I made an exception. I was a sucker and I bought the crazy viewing window one. It needs to be charged, and yes, this is an album that comes with a charging cable for the LCD screen inside. But for Tool I made an exception. Even though this is by no means my favorite album of theirs, I enjoyed it enough that, and I've been following them for long enough that I decided to pick it up. So yeah, gotta love that Tool. As toxic as Tool fans are. But by the way, watch Mad Mike's new video. He did a great takedown of Ginger fans and basically and literally made the statement that, like, I never thought a fan base would be more toxic than Tool's, but Ginger fans are here to represent, and I kind of agree with that. It is fantastic. Definitely check it out. We've got Time Lurker with Time Lurker, kind of an obscure little black metal band that was sent to me that I enjoyed in like 2015 maybe. What is this? I don't even know what this is. Oh, this is our Torrential Downpour, who have been on the channel a number of times, and I didn't recognize that album because I more listened to Truth, Knowledge, Vision. They've been on the podcast. I've covered them a couple times, most recently for their new EP 2020, but if you want a full length from them, they're fantastic. They're basically the Dillinger Escape Plan, Mike Patton era with ISIS mixed into it. So if that sounds interesting to you and you still haven't checked them out, you definitely should. I think Ginger's very talented, and I enjoy their music. I just think that their fan base are at least 50% simps, stans, and douchebags. Like, that's kind of what it comes down to. Yeah, and if you can't get into Ginger, I get it. I also think they have the dumbest name, and apparently they don't like their name either. And yeah, Ginger's just a bad band name. Touche Amore with Is Survived By, amazing post-metal band, post-hardcore band. Also Stage 4, which is a really sad album about his mom dying of cancer, but it's really good. Wasn't as big a fan of what I heard from the latest album that dropped like last year or the year before. Trap Them with Crown Feral. Just raunchy, aggressive, metallic hardcore and mathcore. So good. Trap Them's amazing. We got Tribulation, and I was really glad to find this. The Horror, and it's funny because that's the only album I own from Tribulation in hard copy, and it's the least like any of their other albums. It's just a straight up like At the Gates record, basically. Just really aggressive melodic death metal, unlike their more kind of like gothic black metal kind of stuff. I know Adam hates when I call things gothic when they're really not, but I still don't have a better word for it. Adam gave me a better word for it. No, I can't think of what it was. Trauma, a nice little obscure metalcore EP from the 2000s called Solidarity. Good stuff. Ooh, Celtic Frost, Monotheist. Oh my god, this is the best Celtic Frost album, but really it's down there and it's not in C because I felt like it fit in better with the Triptychon albums, which I also have. So I've got Eperistera Daimones, which I'm probably still saying wrong. Love the Geiger covers on these. I'm a huge Geiger fan. And then Melana Chasmata. These are just, like, I don't like Doom, but I love Triptychon because they just have such a just pummeling take on kind of mixing Doom and sludge and death metal and even some elements of black metal. It's just so good. Would really love to hear some new material from them. Hopefully sometime in the near future, because it's been a while. It has been a while. Oh shit, I'm getting these all scrambled up now, aren't I? Alright, let me fix these real quick. Yeah, too bad Trap Them's not around anymore, but there's so many other bands that like ape their style that you're kind of any good. Any hot chicken metal is going to get love. The only ones that ever transcended the beauty of their front woman is Arch Enemy. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think there's a lot of great, especially now, female-fronted metal bands with really talented vocalists that, yes, unfortunately, they still draw those douches who are just like, oh, they're so hot. But I think Tatiana's a very talented vocalist. And also, Spirit Box comes to mind. Courtney is a really great vocalist. The new Employed to Serve that's coming, she's more of like just a straight kind of hardcore metalcore vocalist, but really good there. Sharptooth. I could go on and on. I've done videos on this, so. Yep. Oh, also Epica. I mean, Epica seems like an obvious one too. Like, I'm forgetting her name, but she is extremely talented. Getting hot in here. In terms of obscure metalcore, I'd say that if you like symphonic black metal, listen to Dead Blue Sky. I'll have to check that out. Did you know that Tom G. Warrior manages Geiger's estate? I did know that because there's a cool little documentary and you see Tom G. Warrior in it a few times. They were like buds, basically. So that was really neat. We've got this album that's Russian that they sent to me. I cannot pronounce it. It's like folk metal. Solid stuff. Really good. You can find it on Bandcamp. I wish I knew how to say their name, but I don't. We've got Uada's debut, which I think is still kind of their best album. I picked this up at the merch booth after seeing them live because they are a Portland band. Unfortunately, they don't do interviews, so I was hoping to do one in person, but there you go. Ooh, we got Ulcerate with Vermis. Probably my favorite from them. I thought I had... Oh, I do. Yeah, they're mixed up here. Hang on. Yeah, sometimes these get out of order. So we got Shrines of Paralysis. Great album. And then their latest, Stare into Death and Be Still. I got to see them live in like this little bar show that was basically almost like a basement show, and they were so good. We have Ol Sect, which is an awesome like technical black and death metal band with members of that other band that people love, and I can't think of their name. They're also kind of underground. We got Ulver with Natin's Madrigal, the classic. A must-have for any black metal collection. Ooh, we got some Under Oath here. So entering a discography that I love. They're Only Chasing Safety. Adore this album. If you like kind of like poppy, pop punky stuff mixed with your metalcore, that's a great one. Define the Great Line, a great follow-up, a little bit heavier. Great sing-alongs, great aggressive moments. We got Lost in the Sound of Separation. We got Disambiguation, which starts to see them kind of decline. And then I didn't buy the new album Physical because I just honestly didn't think it was that good. It had some bangers on it, but it's not great. I did do a tier list of them recently, but then of course now they've announced another album. So that tier list is going to be out of date. And then we've got Unearth with the Oncoming Storm, which is actually the only Unearth album I have. Because I think they're kind of overrated, honestly, but I do love that album. It has some incredible solos that absolutely blew me away when I bought an album I definitely remember buying at Hot Topic, specifically. Tatiana's a great vocalist. Every Year of Ulver is great to me. Yeah, they're chameleons for sure. I love the Capra. Yes, Capra, definitely. She's great. Crow is amazing. She's put so much passion into her performances. Define the Great Lines, a lot darker than some people would expect of Under Oath. Yeah, it's especially after They're Only Chasing Safety. Time to Spread, Debauchery, great chatting with y'all. Keep your horns up. Yeah, thanks for hanging with us, The Desolate One. Putting these back is a chore. The good news is, oh man, hang on. The good news is we made it through another row. We're making progress. I mean, we're in U. That's a big deal. You'd think we'd be almost done, but there's actually like a whole other row. I have a lot of like oddly lettered bands. All right, what we got here? Oh, we got a little obscure treat from Unwritten Truth, a little EP from some friends back in Chicago that I kind of joked with them because I was at a used record store and I was browsing through, grabbing like albums I could find, and I saw this and I took a picture of it for them, and they're like, dude, somebody got our EP and they sent it back. They sold it back to the store. I'm like, that's rough, dude. And they're like, hey, but we're in a CD store. We must have made it. So, yeah, that was fun. Damn, dude, you're one of the few dudes I've seen that's into some underground black death metal and jam so much core. They usually don't mix. Yeah, man. I am very anti-elitism and boundaries in metal. Like, I love everything. A little bit of everything. Like, and even the stuff I don't like as much, like Doom, I respect it. And I try. I continue to try. Like that new stuff from Rise to the Sky, I'm really enjoying. So I always keep an open mind. And then I listen to pop punk, and I like the new Halsey stuff with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Like, I love it all. I just like good music. Low Lifer, they do check out Black and Deathcore. Yeah, I've heard of them. Or Lord, they do. Oh, okay. I love Under Oath. Hell yeah, dude. Under Oath's great. Getting into some Vader. We've got Litany. My Litany. Another tier list I did recently that I had fun with. Didn't get as many views. Kind of understandable. But maybe when they drop something new, it'll get some more steam. Impressions in Blood. One of my personal favorites from them. This is another cover done by dude from Septic Flesh. If you're not aware, he does a lot of album covers. And anytime you see this, he has a very particular aesthetic. And it's always mixed media. It's a mixture of like models and masks and physical media with kind of this weird gradient he likes to use and some digital trickery. Tibi et Igni. Probably my favorite album overall. I love how symphonic this one gets. It's a great later career entry. And then Solitude and Madness is a fucking banger. Like, it's really cool to see them still cranking out albums that all sound different but are all really incredible stuff. Ooh, Vatnet Viscar. For my money, I don't love Sunbather from Deaf Heaven. Like, I worship this album. I think this is a superior kind of post-black album, especially if you haven't listened to this album, check out the track Impact. It'll blow your fucking socks off. It's so good. Wish they were still Vatnet Fiskar, but now they're just Vatnet, and they have ditched all of the metal from their sound, just like Deaf Heaven did on their most recent album. Ooh, Vane with Error Zone, some raunchy new metal inspired metalcore, mathcore kind of stuff. Really good. Really just chef's kiss on that one. Vector with Terminal Redux. Amazing blackened thrash metal, progressive metal. Love that album cover too. And we got some Vermin Womb with Decline. Ethan McCarthy of Primitive Man's more kind of like faster paced band. What we got? There's a thread on Banger's thrash metal video where this dude was like, if you start listening to metal and metalcore, you're not welcome to thrash. Yeah, they can fuck off, because I'm right there. I'll listen to the newer thrash bands all day, and the old ones. Elitism in metal is just a pure waste of everyone's time. Absolutely. It's so stupid. The metalcore hate makes me laugh, definitely. Most black and deathcore is just keys. Only a few bands actually do it really good, but I'm still waiting for a masterpiece. Lorna Shore and Mental Cruelty are close. What do you think of Shadow of Intent, though? Like, I think Shadow of Intent are doing that sound better than anybody else, personally. Arizona is fire. Absolute fire. We're getting close, y'all. I might even share some of my... the alternative and rock albums are kind of kept in a separate category. We got a new one here with Vexed and Culling Culture. One of my favorite metalcore albums of this year, almost verging on deathcore. Speaking of female-fronted bands, like, she's great too. Good stuff. Vile Driver with Primary. A little obscure, kind of like deathcore, death metal album. It's really good. Also has like mathcore elements to it, if I'm remembering right. It's been a little while. Wake, Misery Rites. These guys are just destructive, and this is my personal favorite of theirs. Guest appearance from Abuela. Everybody say hi. Yeah, this album is amazing. The newer one I didn't like as much, but that one just kills. Warforged, a band I can't shut up about. This album, Voice, if you somehow are a fan of the channel and you still have not listened to this, you need to listen to this. Like, it is required listening. Even if you don't like it, that's fine. But I require you to go out on Bandcamp or Spotify. Warforged Voice. It's technically 1:voice in the Roman numeral. But holy crap. If you like Opeth and like super technical, progressive death metal, but with those Opeth elements, then you're going to love it. I was just talking about this the other day and asking if anybody remembered them. Nobody responded, but I don't know if anybody knows Watch Them Die. This was a great little kind of like, just, they were there and then they were gone. This actually came out on Century Media Records, but they're kind of like groove metal, I guess, with emphasis on the thrash side of things. They had this kind of like, they kind of had a little sort of gangbanger look to them. One dude in particular always kind of had the like cholo look going, but it's very like edgy, kind of cringy, but it's really good. Like, it's really fun, and I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, Watch Them Die disappeared. Yeah, I think they only put out 2 albums. How do you feel about Vitriol? I like Vitriol. They're also Portlanders, so I've seen them live. They opened for Imperial Triumphant when I saw them and did that interview. They were kind of like, maybe it was just the offhanded interaction I had, but they seemed kind of like dickish. But I could be wrong. I'd like to do an interview because I like interviewing local bands. I think they're very talented too. Their production sucked on that album though. Like, everything was so like, it was so busy and you like couldn't tell what was going on half the time. So the new track though, the mix sounds a lot better and I can actually kind of hear what's going on. So I'm interested to see how that turns out. Good afternoon, Monster Victor. How do you spell what? Warforged? Warforged. I can even put it in the chat. Because I really, if there's like one album I always recommend, it's like them and Torrential Downpour. Here's that one. And then I'll just, for the sake of doing it, I'll put Torrential Downpour in here always. Because those guys are homies and they deserve every new fan they can get. Because they are just incredible. How do you feel about, yeah, I said that Watch Them Die was a great band for its time, but very underrated. Yeah, for sure. Wish they had more traction. Yeah, I think, yeah, it was just, I don't know. They just didn't get the momentum other bands did. I'm not exactly sure why, because they had a lot of backing, but it just didn't happen for them. All right, speaking of Whitechapel, we've got This Is Exile, the great classic deathcore cover there. We've got a new era of Corruption. And my personal favorite, they're self-titled with the classic just saw blade insignia on it. They kind of lose me after that one. I feel like they had a steep incline and then they start to drop off in these later albums. I know some people really love the direction of the last album, but I don't know. I felt like I was the only person in the world who just found it kind of boring. So it wasn't like I wanted them to be old Whitechapel. Like I like when bands evolve, but honestly, the band I think that's doing the sound that Whitechapel was kind of trying to do on that album is done better by this other band. And I can even picture the album cover. It was like purple with like a creepy little like ballerina girl on it. I want to say the name starts with an S, but I'm just totally blanking like I always do on these dang live streams. We've got White Zombie with Astro Creep 2000, classic. We have Wilder Run with Veil of Imagination, which is an incredible, like, American progressive and folk metal band. And this album's just like, oh, it's so good. Very impressive stuff. Another band recommended for fans of, like, Opeth, but also mixed in with, again, those, like, folkier things. Ooh, we got some other things worth covering in a row here. Let me get to the chat again. Frozen Soul has been getting so much hype, but I don't totally get it. I like Frozen Soul, but yeah, I also listened to it and was like, I don't see why this is being lauded as like the best thing ever. This Is Exile, Our Endless War, and The Valley are some of my favorite deathcore records. See, yeah, I didn't really like Our Endless War or The Valley that much. Portrayal of Guilt, thank you, Human Falafel. See, this is what I love about our fan base, is that even though it's taken us time to grow, you diehards in there, you know what I'm talking about. I really had fun, by the way, with that community post where everybody got to, like, in one sentence describe their favorite metal band and people had to guess. That was really fun. I'd love to do more of that. So the fact that I could just describe that cover and Human Falafel knew that it was Portrayal of Guilt, I love that. So good. But yeah, Portrayal of Guilt, I saw them post, they're already working on like new stuff. So they just won't stop. All right, we've got, this is out of order. Oh no, I'm missing one. That's right. So we got Vindir, one of my other favorite black metal bands, with 1184. My personal favorite, but I also really enjoy Lickford. Had a fun doing a little short tier list for them just as a tribute. Another very big rest in peace moment. I wonder where they would be today if the main guy was still around, but he tragically like died out in the forest of exposure, which I guess is like kind of appropriate for a black metal musician, but also sad. Winter Solstice with The Fall of Troy, another kind of obscure metalcore album from the 2000s that's actually really solid. Lots of great riffs on that one, and as the name would imply, it's all based on like the fall of Rome. Like the opening track's called Following Caligula, and it is a sick track. If you only check out one track from them, check out Following Caligula from Winter Solstice. Who's Frozen Soul? They're like a death metal band that has been getting some traction this year. I'm just not super excited on it. Yeah, Fantano's been really meh lately on stuff that I've really enjoyed. Like that BT Bam review, he decimated basically all of my favorite moments from that album. And that's fine. Like, I respect him greatly. I don't think he puts it on. I think he's very genuine, and I think he gives solid reasoning behind his arguments. I just don't always agree with him, which is what you want in a reviewer. So I get really, like, I laugh when I get these comments about, how I'm like wrong. I'm like, you're missing the point entirely. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm sharing my thoughts on this as somebody who listens to a lot of music. And another reviewer could think totally differently. Like me and the Metal Meltdown don't always agree. Me and Quest for Metal don't always agree. Me and Pair of Jeans don't always agree. Like sometimes I'll love an album, they'll hate it. Sometimes they'll love an album, I'll hate it. It just depends. Within Destruction, one of my favorite modern deathcore bands. We've got Death Wish, which is fantastic, just straight up deathcore. We've got Void. Those are out of order. This one should come first, actually. And then we've got the new one, Yokai, where they started mixing in the weird like SoundCloud rappers and stuff like that, which I have mixed feelings about, but I like that they're trying new stuff and they're evolving and they're not afraid to alienate their audience. I always respect that, even if I don't think it's successful. But I really did enjoy enjoy Yokai. It was one of my favorite deathcore albums of 2020. Nice Poners Unite. Oh no, that sucks. Do you think there's been a band that replaced Opeth old sound? Because I haven't found anything on that level. Not to like an exact degree, but I'll tell you, like, I think Warforged is a great bet. I did do a video called Bands Like Opeth that you can find. And I forget who was all in that list, but Warforged was in there and like 4 other bands. And so you should check those out, because I think pretty much anything in that list, because I'm much more of an old Opeth fan myself, so everything I included in that list has more of that old Opeth sound. Monster Victor is a newish death metal band. I've heard of them. He hated the Parallax, unfortunately. Yeah, which is just insanity to me, but different strokes. It's all subjective. What's up, homies? Anyone get to see Zayo live at church? I still need to. I want to watch the replay of that. I'd love to catch them live too. I'm honored too to have had, like, when I review their albums, it's because I have a direct email contact with one of the members, and so it's kind of cool to be able to talk to them directly, given how long they've been around and how long I've been listening to them. That was a fun tier list too, even though it's not getting as many views, but I anticipated that because they're more of a niche band. More deathcore, we've got Within the Ruins with Elite. Another one of my favorite, I think, underrespected deathcore bands, because they're super technical, but not in a Rings of Saturn kind of wankery kind of way. Like, they have so many hooks, both in the guitars and the vocals. They're extremely talented. Phenomenon is probably my personal favorite, or Phenomena. If you want a little bit more singing and kind of metalcore elements, Halfway Human is also really good. And then their latest one with the new vocalist that I interviewed the guitarist about, Black Heart, which is, they've got a really solid discography. Would really recommend them. If you don't like gent, you're not going to like it. But you might, actually, because it's not the typical just like binary stuff. Like, they do a lot of really intricate, technical, harmonized riffing, but really tight songwriting too. And I even did a video with Quest for Metal on like bands that we think should be bigger. And they were one of my top picks because they just don't get the respect. And I really don't get it, because they're super talented and they have all the marks of a great band. Speaking of Woad, we've got Burn in Many Mirrors. Classic. One of my favorite albums of the year still, I think, and definitely in black metal. By the way, if you're going to check out one track from Within the Ruins just to sample them, I would recommend Gods Amongst Men from Phenomena. Every song on this album is based on a comic book character, and this is Gods Amongst Men is an argument between Professor X and Magneto regarding what they should do about the humans. And it's so good. I don't even want to spoil it, but they are great, like, for opening their tracks in a way that will just make the crowds explode at a live show. I think this dude is still shit talking me on this Carnifex video. And also, I'm also getting updates from more Ginger stands. They don't stop, but I'm happy because they keep boosting the video up. They don't realize that their hate comments still give the algorithm data to continue recommending the video to more people. It's great. It's just the ultimate schadenfreude. What do we got? Do you jam Leprous? I sadly find Leprous extremely boring. We've been talking about this on the Discord for the last couple of days. I respect it. I appreciate people who like it, and I know a lot of people do. It bores me to tears. Great singer, seeing them live with BT Bam. Yeah, I heard that they did a show with them, or a tour or something. Viscera is a better version of Within the Ruins. Viscera is really good, and they do have a lot of comparisons to Within the Ruins. I wouldn't say it's a better version, but also really good. I loved that last album. Fantano's been on a decimation streak. Yeah. Yet, he was like really nice to Donda, which everybody's been like kind of ripping to shreds for Kanye West. But yeah, he kind of was pretty nice to that one. Yes, we are evolution. We are gods. That is a great opening line from Gods Amongst Men. Brian Walker says, new Silent Planet album coming out in November. I'll have to check that out. Monster Victor says, I would have to thank Trenches for showing me Zao because The Crimson Corridor is probably going to be my album of the year. It's still, I think, one of mine and definitely one of their best albums. Like, another band that are like shapeshifters. They keep that core element of kind of like their distinct style with their vocals and the guitar work, but every album's a little different, and this one was also like it went in this very melancholic, almost doomy direction that I was not expecting, and it's very good. Hangman's Park, I might use Decimation Streak as the name of my new grindcore band. I like that too. Do it. It's all yours, buddy. The artwork could be fecal and brutal. All right, let me grab some more. Oh, and we are in the final stretch of the metal albums, so we are going to finish those. And we haven't been on that long, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the rock and alternative ones, because there's not that many. But yeah, this is the final stack of metal-only albums. So we have Wolfheart, Constellation of the Black Heart, great melodic death metal album. Also kind of blackened in some ways. We've got Wormed with Kriegzu, RIP to, I think, the drummer, which is really sad because their speed is unmatched, but also their vocalist is just ridiculous with their like just unearthly alien-sounding gutturals. Always excited to hear some new Wormed. I'll never forget, I work in mental health, as some of you know, and I went to like pick up a kid from school to bring him to session, and I was listening to Kriegzu, and he was just looking at me like, what the fuck is this? We got Wovoka with Saros, fantastic underground sludge album. I don't even think they are a band anymore, but you can find this on Bandcamp. Highly recommended. I love the album art. I love how aggressive and just genuine it sounds. Just beats you down. Great stuff. We got Wrath, another band that is sadly disbanded in like the past year or so, but this album, their self-titled album, excellent. Like mixture of kind of like mathcore, progressive, and some other elements too. I compare them a little bit to the Number 12 Looks Like You, but yeah, especially like their later stuff. Really good. Wrath spelled WRVTH, of course. We got Zayon, some really cool kind of melodic black and death metal. Underrated technical and progressive death metal band Xenobiotic. Love this cover. This cover's done by that same guy who does like the Bell Witch album covers. I always forget his name, but I just love his work. And then their music is really good. Last year was a great year for technical death metal, man. There was so much good stuff. Oh, speaking of edgy music, we've got When Life Comes to Death from Young and In the Way, which I believe are broken up. I was supposed to see them open for Toke, but they had that like controversy right around that time. And great album though. Super just like blackened hardcore, like one of the best examples of it. But there are other bands now that have kind of picked up the style. I also kind of compare Portrayal of Guilt to them in some places. So there's plenty of options for that, but I do like that album. Youth Forever with Skeleton Youth Forever. This is another kind of like obscure, weird sort of like metalcore, post-hardcore, like breakup album with really like waily kind of weird. It's a weird album, which I love. I love weird shit. It's good. It's like super bitter. Just like the whole album plays out like a note of like a teenager to their girlfriend who scorned them, which can sound lame, but it ends up being a really good album. Speaking of Zao, I just actually picked up some albums physically that I did not have. So we got Liberate to Ex Inferius, classic cover, classic album. Had to add it to the collection. I also picked up The Funeral of God, which is, I named one of my S tier favorites on the tier list. We've got The Well-Intentioned Virus, which is great from their modern outputs and from their more kind of mathcore kind of side. And we've also got the EP that followed that up because I got them as like they had a cool deal where you get them both together for cheaper, and it was totally worth it. And then I got the Crimson Corridor, of course. Gotta have it. One of the best albums of the year. Check it out. Zeal and Ardor, which I named my favorite metal album of the entire 2010s. I gave it number 1 because I just think it's such a sign of the times in terms of like the evolution that metal has been going through over the last decade, and how these young and hungry musicians are like bringing in new elements, new influences, new ideas, and Stranger Fruit is a testament to that. They're working on new stuff too. Wasn't as big a fan of the EP that they put out last year, but love that album. And then we got Rob Zombie, which probably should be with White Zombie. I don't know why they're... I guess technically because Rob Zombie's a name, so it goes with Z, and White Zombie is a band name, so it goes with W. Bothers me a little bit. We've got Zombie Shark with... it's one of those long titles. I Will Destroy You, Myself, and Everything I've Ever Loved. Amazing, like, cybercore... It's a hard to nail down album. If you've ever wondered also what that is right there, he loves to do... I had him on an interview and he talked about it, and he's just a cool dude. But he does a lot of DIY stuff, and he loves having some sort of weird way to release each of his albums aside from just like a CD or cassette. So the previous album, he got a bunch of like Nintendo cartridges, and he like put the album on those. And then this time he made like an action figure style package with broken glass and a flash drive that has the album on it too, and little glow in the dark skulls too, which goes with one of the albums, and it has artwork and everything. It's really neat. I love stuff like that. And then Zhrine with Unearth Theta, who I saw open for Ulcerate. They're from New Zealand, fantastic black and death metal band. They have a stand-up bass, and they're one of those bands where it's funny because they sound like Portal and stuff like that, and you'd expect them to be really like scary and intense in person, but they were all wearing like button-up shirts. They all looked like they were going to prom, basically. So I was kind of amused by that. I have pictures. All right, that's the end of the metal stuff, so I'm going to get into some alternative stuff, but let me catch up on the chat here. Hey, Seaman, welcome. Man, I missed a bunch of stuff. Hangman's Park, thanks. I've been talking about a lot of core, but I have a soft spot for weirder death metal, hell yeah. The Ataxias are a lot of fun, cool melodies, production is funky though, yeah, another reference to Within the Ruins. I'm a sucker for the bastardization of death metal. Hell yes. Everything should evolve. But sometimes there's room for bands that just do the old style really well. Young and in the Way released a newer album that sounds unfinished but still good. I didn't know that. There's some moments that sound... Yeah, Watain is a good comparison for them too. Just checked out The Funeral of God. Hope banger, yes. Glad you enjoyed it. I was listening to that driving to Salem the other day. Did you like the new Coheed track? I loved it. Loved it. Coheed's fantastic. Speaking of which, we will look at some of that since we're getting into the rock stuff. Oh no, we already did that. Never mind. I have it with the metal stuff. So we covered that in the first episode. New Zealand Ardor EP crushed me last year. Lyrically, one of the strongest releases in my opinion. I think I just couldn't handle it because like there was so much real shit going on that I just could not handle an album that was just so steeped in that. I needed more escapist stuff at that point. So I probably need to go back and revisit it. I couldn't dig the new Coheed. Really? I loved it. New single, I'm going to check it out. Yeah, definitely check it out. Zhrine, need new material. For sure, because that album came out like 2015 or 16, something like that. All right, we've got, still kind of in metal realm, Allison Chains with Facelift, which is an okay album, but, you know, it's got to be Dirt. Dirt's the classic, the true OG. Good timing for this too. I am reviewing the new Andrew WK album next week. I've gotten to hear it, but I have I Get Wet, which is just such... Anytime you're in a bad mood, try to turn on either Party Hard or She Is Beautiful, and it will instantly change your mood. Like, you cannot not just throw up your fist and scream along to those songs. They're so great. So yeah, love Andrew WK. It's interesting on the new album because his depression is really like coming into the music, which is a different turn for him, but it's made for a very unique album in his discography. We got Bare Naked Ladies with Stunt, which is a fucking classic. I don't care if anyone wants to make fun of me for that. We're going to have a lot of weird shit in here, by the way. But you'll see a lot of my other influences. We got Bjork with my personal favorite from her, Post. She has a great discography, so talented, but Post is my personal favorite from her. We also, though, have Elektra, which I think is an album that's had a lot of influence on a lot of metal musicians. Another really solid one. I like Block Party a lot. The only physical... Is that right? Yeah, I think the only physical copy I have for it is Intimacy, which is my personal favorite. I love their first album too, but this one is like more kind of atmospheric. I also got to see them play a lot of that live at Lollapalooza, which was great. We got Blue Man Group, their first album, which I got at their show, and I saw at one of their original performances. If you've never seen Blue Man Group and you ever find yourself in Chicago, I would recommend it, really. Like, it's great. We were just talking about brand new yesterday on the Discord. We've got Deja Entendu, and we have my personal favorite, The God and Devil Are Raging Inside of Me. Or God, The Devil and God Are Raging Inside of Me. Saw them play at Lollapalooza. I think it was that same Lollapalooza with Block Party. They were great. Unfortunate, another situation where the singer was doing some not so great stuff with fans, but that's another story. We got Bush, Razorblade Suitcase. Love me some post-grunge kind of stuff. We got The Science of Things as well. The Chemicals Between Us. This was like a big gateway into metal for me. Butthole Surfers with Electric Larryland. Gotta love that, especially Pepper. We got Coldplay, Parachutes. Might be mocked for that, but I like me some old Coldplay. Like, it was pretty heavy influence on me. You know, they're kind of corny, but that album at least is really good. What's got going on in chat? Chelsea Wolf, great. Yes, absolutely. Just jumped on when you were talking about Zao. Definitely released one of the best albums of the year. Yeah, that's one of the consensus for sure. Party's getting started for sure. Bare Naked Ladies is great. Very talented band. Just picked up the Zhrine vinyl on Coke Bottle. That's awesome. They're so good. I love Gordon. Yeah, gotta love Gordon. I never really... Oh, yeah, you said that in that community thread. I never really dug their songs with super poppy choruses except for The Suffering. Yeah, Suffering's a good one. Bjork is amazing. I love playing her bass lines, especially Army of Me. Yeah, that's a good one. But I need to listen to it again. I only gave it a listen or two. For Bjork, Homogenic and Vespertine are super influential on me. Yeah, those are classics too. Vespertine's a little bit on the slow side for me, so I get a little bored, but it's got its moments. Brand New is another one of those bands. I love their entire discography. Yeah, very, very talented band. Sad to see them go down, but it is what it is. Counting Crows, classic. And in case you somehow don't know this, Between the Buried and Me, their name is from a Counting Crows song. So they are influenced by them as well. August and Everything After. classic seminal 90s album for me. I heard so many of these songs on the radio, and stuff like Mr. Jones and Round Here, Rain King. Like these, I have very specific memories tied to them, and they make me almost tear up a little bit. I love me some Counting Crows. We also have Sheryl Crow, which my mom was a big country fan, and especially pop country stuff, so I heard a lot of Sheryl Crow growing up, but very talented artist. I love Strong Enough. I love All I Want to Do, even though I hated it as a kid. Like, it's grown on me, and I have so many memories tied to that, too. And I also I'm a big Henry Rollins fan, and I love his spoken word stuff, and he has a great story about him kind of like competing on a bill with Sheryl Crow, trying to like outdo her, and it's just hysterical. We've got The Cure with Disintegration, must have, amazing. We've got Cursive with The Ugly Organ, great like indie album, really sad, depressing stuff. Guy was like going through a divorce when he wrote this, so it's like, as you can expect, it's pretty like soul crushing, but also really impressive. Another band I hated as a kid because I hated their fan base and basically everything about their aesthetic, but Dave Matthews Band, man, they're extremely talented, and their early albums, especially the first three, Under the Table and Dreaming, Before These Crowded Streets, and Crash, are must-listen albums, if you ask me. Just incredible musicianship and songwriting. No doubt about it. If you don't like them, fine, but super important. Death Cab for Cutie, Translanticism, still love this album. I love pretty much their whole discography, but that album is like a special one for me, and I will never forget, too, being at Hot Topic, and this was up with like the metal albums, and I'd never heard of them before, and you'd think from that name and that cover, looks kind of like a metalcore album, right? So that's what I assumed. So I turned it on because they had the little headphones where you could sample it, and of course, found anything but. So it took me a while to kind of cycle back and learn to appreciate them, but love Death Cab. Death from Above, 1979. They've been putting out some new stuff lately, but this album is incredible. Check out the song, you probably heard it and not even known it, but Romantic Rights. In fact, there was a comedy troupe on YouTube, I'm blanking on the name again, as always, but that was their intro music, and it had this classic, like, Human Giant, I think was the name of the crew. Great song. They're just a duo. It's like a drummer, vocalist, and a bass player with, like, a lot of distortion on his bass. Really fun. Saw them live, too. Everclear, World of Noise. Not my favorite from them, but we have Everclear, Sparkle and Fade, which is a classic. Can't get enough of Heroin Girl and Santa Monica, classic tracks. And then another seminal album for me that's actually my favorite, So Much for the Afterglow. One of the first CDs I owned that was mine, and it wasn't like a hand-me-down. And I love every song on this album, and I always attribute El Distorto de Melodica, the instrumental interlude on here, as another early thing that got me into metal music, because it's super heavy and different from anything else on the album. I also always thought it funny that I thought this guy looks like Keanu Reeves a little bit. It's like discount Keanu Reeves. All right, before I move on, let's see what the chat's up to here. Yeah, so I like Epic Dark Andrew WK. It is a rad new sound for him. Yeah, and the album's really good. The singles are just so impressive. Brand New's awesome. Love Cursive. Glad. So you're waiting for the new release to rank Whitechapel? Yes. I probably will finally do my Whitechapel ranking. I've been trying to do that now, where I'll rank a band around when the new album drops. I've made some exceptions, especially for bands that are no longer releasing music, obviously, but also for things I'm redoing. I have two big tier lists for two of my all-time favorite bands that I have previously done tier lists for way back in the early days of the channel with no video, and I have redone them with more energy and more to say and better quality overall. So those will be coming out soon as well. I think that would make a really interesting video since their fan base is in dispute over every goddamn album. Yeah, I think it will be interesting too. Especially since I am like the only person who doesn't really like their new stuff that much. I feel like. Domestica I love Domestica too from Cursive. That's another great, also soul crushing album, kind of going over like their relationship leading up to the divorce. Some of the best post-hardcore albums that a lot of people haven't heard. You into Bright Eyes? Just saw them at Art Park with John Theodore. I never really got into them, but I think I've actually seen them live at Lala. I saw a lot of artists that sometimes I even forget that I've seen them, because Lollapalooza, obviously, you end up seeing just a lot of stuff. I saw Deftones at Lala. I saw Radiohead at Lala. I didn't go to a lot of shows back in the day, but being in Chicago, Lollapalooza was like the event. So that would be like my one show of the year where I'd see a ton of stuff. We got The Faint with Dance Macabre. This is a really fun kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like electronic kind of like dance music, but not really. Like it's also mixed with like new wave. Maybe somebody else in the chat, if they were aware of The Faint, can describe this album better for me, but it's a really fun album. Faith No More. We've got Epic, or The Real Thing. Sorry. Epic's the song, not the album. Great album, but better than that. We have Angel Dust, of course. For me, the best Faith No More album. That's just got so much great stuff. And Jizzlobber is just one of the like heaviest fucking things they've ever done. And that song just rips. I love Mike Patton as a vocalist. He's one of my favorites. Fiona Apple, another singer-songwriter that I'm absolutely in love with. I love her music. It just touches my soul. It makes me want to die sometimes because it's just so crushing. And I love her attitude. I made a list at one point. It wasn't a video. It was just like a written list of like artists that I consider metal, even though they don't make metal music. And Fiona Apple's one of them because she is just so fucking pissed. She has so much attitude on these albums. And so Sleep to Dream is a great opener. Shadow Boxer. Criminal is, of course, the classic. Great album. Fantastic album. But we've also got When the Pawn, which I won't read the whole title because it actually has it had the record, or like second place for like second longest album title of all time. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. I like this album even a little bit more. You've got On the Bound, Limp, Fast as You Can. So talented. She's great. I almost feel like she's like the original, like the crowd that now loves like Lingua Ignota and who was the other artist that was just mentioned a minute ago? Chelsea Wolfe. Those are like OG Fiona Apple fans, if you ask me. I love her newer album too. It's not new by any means now, but the one she had that music video where she had like the octopus on her head. That was a good album. Foo Fighters. Where is I swear I have more Foo Fighters albums, but I don't see them. I don't know where they went. So there you go. But we have Wasting Light, which may be a strange choice, but I think it's the best Foo Fighters album. Even though I grew up on, There's Nothing Left to Lose and The Color and the Shape, which are classics. But I think song for song, that is their best album. The Fray, How to Save a Life. I don't know if these guys are still around, but man, I was jamming that a lot in college, let me tell you. And then another band that just sort of became massive and then disappeared off the face of the earth. Fun, with Some Nights. This is a really great album. It really is. Like, I know some of the songs were overplayed and I got sick of hearing them, but if you're not familiar, this is the, We Are Young and, what's their other big hit? Carry On. But they have some other deeper cuts on here that are really good. In particular, All Right is a really great one. Some Nights, It Gets Better. Like, this is a really solid album. All right, let me catch up. Chat. Connor from Bright Eyes used to be in The Faint. Well, look at that. That's interesting. And the Maiden dude from The Faint was running lights at the show. Faith No More is absolutely nuts in how good they are. Same with Fiona Apple, absolutely. Faith No More vocalist has really great range, especially his lower register. Yeah, and I have so many side projects to recommend from him. Again, Phantomus that he does with Dave Lombardo from Slayer. Director's Cut in particular, that album is incredible. and then his other stuff with they just dropped an album this year, or was it late last year? Tomahawk. It's interesting too, and then his stuff with the Dillinger Escape Plan is ridiculous too. His range is insanity. The Chumbawamba one is the longest, I think. Yeah. No, actually, it's somebody else. I can't remember who it is, but yeah, they have some long titles. Love the Faint. My wife got me into them. Saw them live in St. Louis. It's a very unique sound. Yes, it's hard to describe. Yeah, like punk electronic, but dancey. Very interesting. Fun guy has mad pipes. Yes, he does, dude. He has a beautiful voice. He actually does a song on the Marshall Mathers 2, which is one of my favorite songs on that album. And yeah, I'm sad that they aren't really doing anything, because I really like him and the band. Frey are not around anymore, as the album recently released. It was back in 2014. Yeah, and that follow-up album was not particularly good, as I recall. Yeah, no new material. Ah, shit, more stuff falling here. We've got Garbage, classic there. Gin Blossoms, New Miserable Experience, more 90s tracks that were formative for me on the radio growing up. Interpol with Turn On the Bright Lights, great kind of like dark shoegazy kind of album. Gorillaz, Demon Days, the only Gorillaz album front to back I really enjoy, but I respect how much lore and stuff goes into them. But I spent a lot of time listening to that in high school. Helmet, which arguably should maybe be in the metal section, but oh man, I love Helmet. So we've got Meantime, and then Betty, which I even like a little bit better. Helmet is just one of those bands that you need to listen to. Their riffs are so unmistakable. And they're so simple, but they're so fun to play, and they're just so heavy. Such good stuff. Hootie and the Blowfish, another, kind of funny one, but I love, this era of music, and Cracked Rear View was another one where, all these songs were on the radio, and I couldn't escape them, and they're all now tied to very distinct memories. All right, but we're about to get into what used to be one of, if not my favorite band in high school. Not anymore, because anytime a band kind of starts putting out a series of albums that kind of aren't really good, they start to drop on my list. I'll give you a hint, it's in the eyes. Okay, so while you're thinking about that, I'll say, let's see, I love his voice. Fun fact, they used to be an anarcho post-punk band. I could believe that. I love Fun, but I'm kind of getting sick of seeing produced by Jack Antonoff everywhere. Yeah, I know I love Chumbawamba and the UK anarcho punk scene. Yeah, Chumbawamba is a very misunderstood band, I've learned over the years. Much more than just the one-off joke song kind of band that people think they are. Hell yeah, ever listen to Crass? Do you have ATG SOS? When I see ATG, I think At the Gates, but you're probably talking about something else. Really great and experimental discography. Incubus, yep, you got it, you nailed it. So we've got When Incubus Attacks, which I just happened to pick out of a dollar bin. We've got Science, which is such a fun, weird little album. Oh, so many delightful tracks on here. Redefine, Vitamin, A Certain Shade of Green, of course, is a big single. And then Summer Romance, Anti-Gravity Love Song was a song I loved learning how to play on guitar. Their weirdest album, very fun, some of their best musicianship on it too. Very cool. Make Yourself, probably my personal favorite of their entire discography though. This was the album you could not escape on the radio at this time. Every song is basically a single. I almost tear up just looking at it every time, because man, this was there was a summer in high school, and this album is in some way tied to basically every big experience that happened that summer. I remember even when we started a band, we wanted to be like Incubus. I tried to fashion my vocals kind of as a mix between him and the guy from Taproot. And then I I remember us also, when Wish You Were Here came out from Morning View, which I also love. We saw the music video when it premiered at my friend Jeff's house, who was our drummer. But I also remember I was watching Little Nicky one night, and that movie, which has not aged well, that's probably one of the worst Adam Sandler movies in retrospect. I had the kids watch it, and I was like, ugh, this one's terrible. Whereas like The Wedding Singer and Happy Gilmore and all that still hold up. But that movie has, why can't I think of the name? Pardon Me on it. And so I remember that night I was talking with my girlfriend of that summer, and I got the idea in my head to sneak out. The only time I've ever snuck out in my entire life, I snuck out in the middle of the night and took my little Razor scooter, not the electronic ones, like just the push ones, and I Razor scootered the several miles to her house in the middle of the night. And got there, she was asleep. Was not very impressed. I hung out for like a minute and she's like, I'm tired. And then I had to go all the way home. And by the time I got home, it was daylight. And then convinced my mom that I just went for a walk. Hang on for a second because I'm getting a call and family always has to come first. So give me a second here. Yeah, the reason I'm doing the live stream today is because family's taking a little trip and I get the house to myself, which is a rare occurrence. So best time to do this. Sorry to keep you waiting, but let me get back into it. So we've got Crow Left of the Murder, which is where they started to kind of lose me, but I still enjoy this album. But I miss, like, they kind of ditched all the cool stuff they were doing with the guitar effects and everything. And then Like Grenades was kind of like the nail in the coffin for me, and everything since then I just haven't really been into. And I never got to see them live. And now I'm just like, I feel like I missed my window, because if I saw them live now, I'd have to also sit through some of their newer music, which I just don't really like at all. So they were, though, for a long time, my reigning, like, favorite band. What else we got here? Bass Chops for Days, Science Through Like Grenades, one of my favorite runs in rock. I'll always love Little Nicky, but I'm a sucker for smooth brain movies. I usually am too. Like, I'm the one person who thinks Movie 43 is hilarious, but Little Nicky just did not hold up for me. Waterboy's fun. And The Mask. Yeah, I just introduced the kids to The Mask and all the Jim Carrey movies. We also watched Batman Forever, which we had a great time with. I applaud your honesty in revealing your musical taste. I don't think I could do that as easily. Yeah, man, you just gotta be honest. Just be honest. Like, don't pretend to be something you're not. Like, just be you. And if people don't like that, then fuck them. Like, if people watch this and unsubscribe, good riddance. I really could care less. Oh yeah, classics, dude. Yeah. Okay, we've got Jane's Addiction with Nothing Shocking, which I have to censor a little bit here because there's more boobies. Love me some Jane's Addiction. Ritual de lo Habitual, though, is my personal, probably my favorite from them. It's got like Been Caught Stealing and Stop on it, which are just mainstay classics. Good Charlotte. Yeah, dude. I showed some of my pop punk albums, I think, at the top of the first stream, so I'm not going to go through those again, but I've got like AFI, Green Day, I've also got like Dropkick Murphys mixed in there. All that stuff is over there. Great stuff as well. We got Jewel, Pieces of You, another great singer-songwriter. Her later stuff is not very good, but dude, she goes hard on this album too. Like, there is a song on here that I can't even say on this stream the name of it because I would probably get a strike, honestly, for terms and conditions. And then there's other stuff too, but like classics too with Who Will Save Your Soul, You Were Meant for Me. But yeah, there's some rough stuff on this album too. It's not all sunshine and lollipops. Lenny Kravitz, Are You Gonna Go My Way? Not a huge Kravitz fan, but he's got some hits for sure. Hell yeah, my childhood. Have you heard of Vukovi? They're a new pop punk band. I have not. I'd be interested to check them out though, because I do love me some pop punk. If I am just like in a mood for something to get me like going and energetic and positive, then I'm gonna throw on some pop punk. All right. That's something else, actually. I can take that out to make some room here. Ooh, we got the Mars Volta with, I think, their best album, Deloused in Comatorium. I know some people argue some of their other albums, but that's really the only one that start to finish I truly enjoy. We got Lit with A Place in the Sun, if y'all remember Lit. They were pretty lit. Live with Throwing Copper, another seminal 90s album with a lot of hits on it. All Over You, Selling the Drama, I Alone. Very formative songwriting experiences there. I got that for like $1. Matchbox 20, Yourself or Someone Like You. My sister was like a huge Matchbox 20 fan. She got me into them. Mew, Frangers. This is a Danish, if I'm remembering correctly, Danish, I think. Kind of like indie rock, but like stadium style. And they're excellent. They're so good. They're hard to describe, but if you like stuff that I'm naming right now, you should check them out. And then if you want something more progressive from them, And the Glass-Handed Kites is like a must listen. I don't even know like who to recommend this type of music to, but it's so good. Combine heavy rock riff with melodic stuff, always like that. Now show us your real collection. We want to see all here. Amir and Attila. There is none. There is none. My Own Worst Enemy. Hell yeah, dude. Lit's big hit. A lot of opinions of Mars Volta. Francis and Mute. Yeah, everybody usually name drops Francis the Mute. I just am not really into that album for whatever reason. Yeah, dude, Mew is so good. Me Without You. Great, like, post-hardcore kind of stuff. I have both this one, A.B. Life, my personal favorite. I thought I had the other one, too, but I guess I don't. If you're not familiar with Me Without You, if you are a Norma Jean fan and you know the song Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste, the kind of spoken word-ish clean vocals towards the end are from the Me Without You vocalist, and all of his vocals are in that kind of post-hardcore style. Another one of my bands that was a favorite for a long time, but they've just really dropped off with their later material, Modest Mouse. This is A Long Drive for Someone with Nothing to Think About. The Lonesome Crowded West, one of my personal favorites from them. If I were to recommend an album, it would be one of these three. It would be The Lonesome Crowded West, The Moon in Antarctica, which is kind of my favorite. There's a song on here that you'll recognize that you don't even realize you recognize called Gravity Rides Wait, is it Gravity Rides Everything? I think it is that one. But it was in a bunch of car commercials. And so you'll recognize that song when you hear it. And then Good News for People Who Love Bad News was like their big breakout album, which I also really love. Another great, like, I love listening to Float On. When I'm in a bad mood, it always puts me in a good mood. And yeah, that's where the album after this, which I originally had. Like We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank, I think it's called. I had the like awesome, like thick slide out version of that, but I just don't really like that album that much, so I traded it for something else. Me Without You did a split with Norma Jean back in the day. Yep, everything up to 2007 is where it's at for Modest Mouse. Yeah, when did this come out again? It was high school. I want to say like 2004, 2003. Let's see the date on here. 2004. Yep. Year I graduated from high school. That was a big album at the time. We got No Doubt. Gotta have some No Doubt. Big influence on Ginger, by the way, or Tatiana in particular. We have Tragic Kingdom, which is my favorite, but I don't know where it is. Maybe it got mixed up somewhere. We got Nirvana, of course, In Utero, and also Nevermind. Over talked about, so I got nothing new to say about them, but they're classics for a reason. And of course, we've got this whole lawsuit going on about the Nevermind cover now. Mumford & Sons, Babel and Sigh No More, both. I really loved their kind of bringing this sort of bluegrassy, folky sound to the radio waves that I've always been a fan of. But then their next album came out and it was like the studio just totally ruined them and turned them into another like pop rock act and all of the magic was gone. So that sucked. But those two albums, really good. I mean, the title track and like Whispers in the Dark, like there's some really good stuff on there. Little obscure local Ohio band that I've seen live a few times, Mr. Gnome. You can find their stuff on Bandcamp. Their earlier stuff's pretty heavy, so we've got Heave Your Skeleton. They have fun album covers too. And Deliver This Creature, probably my personal favorite. And then also Echoes on the Ground, which is a double EP. But check out Heave Your Skeleton or Deliver This Creature. Or look up the music video for... Which song is it? I think Spain. I think it's Spain is the one I'm thinking of. Like that's one of my favorites. They've gotten a little bit more like surfer rocky almost, like in their later stuff. It's a lot brighter and less kind of dark, but still good stuff. What's up, Alex? We finished the metal stuff. I'm just going through the last of my like rock and alternative albums. It's funny you're here, Alex, because I almost wore my Grind of the Dead shirt again. Oh, here we go. No Doubt, Tragic Kingdom. It's out of place for some reason. And then we also have Return of Saturn. Gotta love some No Doubt. I'm not a big Oasis fan, but I got this out of a bargain bin. What's the Story? Morning Glory. You know, I love Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova, and the rest of it I could kind of take it or leave it. It's just like Beatles, but not as good. Panic at the Disco, A Fever You Can Sweat Out. Another very talented vocalist, very talented keyboard player, too, in this band. Say what you will about them. There's a metal band that I've been recommending, too, that basically does those vocals, but with, like, more metal stylings in the music. I wish I could remember their name at the moment. I think I recommended them in either I think it was the Bands Like Ginger list that I did. Pearl Jam, 10, absolute OG classic, must have, but I also have Vitalogy and Versus, the trilogy of amazingness when it comes to Pearl Jam. We've got some Liz Phair, another fun singer-songwriter of those 90s days, and had a little bit of a crush on her too, I'll admit it. Oh my god, I found it. It fell out. I was looking for it when I did the video. I've got the insert for my Mortal Kombat Annihilation album. I guess I don't have the rest of it still. Or maybe it's buried somewhere. We've got the Postal Service. So if you like Death Cab, this is a side project. that he did where it's just him and one other guy, and some guest vocals too. Really solid indie album. Portishead, Dummy, another must listen. If you've never listened to this album, you need to. It has been a heavy influence on a lot of metal bands. Primus, we've got Frizzle Fry, we've got Sailing the Seas of Cheese, my personal favorite, and Pork Soda, which gets super weird. Love that cover though, and the music videos for that one. We got some Queens of the Stone Age with Songs for the Deaf, and Lullabies to Paralyze, and Era Vulgaris, and another like favorite of mine really from them, Like Clockwork. This album's a masterpiece, man. It's like their like David Bowie album, and it's it's incredible. Underrated. Quicksand, Slip. If you like Helmet, you need to check out Quicksand. Their early stuff in particular. Their newer stuff is a little bit more chill, but their old stuff is super aggro and fits right in with that Helmet crowd. And then also Manic Compression was the follow-up to Slip. Slip is my favorite, though. Slip has all the best songs on it. Ooh, getting into another big discography. Maybe you'll know what it is because we're getting into the R's. I name dropped them a little while ago. We got Radiohead. We've got The Bends. This was another band that I would list probably in my top favorite bands of all time. We got OK Computer. Kid A, my personal favorite. That fucked me up when I first heard it. Like, I'd never heard anything quite like it before, and it has changed my view of music ever since. Amnesiac. Hail to the Thief. In Rainbows, which is the tour I saw them at Lollapalooza for. Another one of my favorites. And A Moon-Shaped Pool, their last album, which I was actually curious to check out when this came out now, because it's been a while. 2016, man, so it's been 5 years since we had a Radiohead album. I think we're ready. Keep breaking crisp cases here now. Yeah, stop. A little Rage Against the Machine. We got Self-Titled. Evil Empire, my personal favorites. Battle of Los Angeles, and Renegades. All great stuff. Getting close to the end here. All right. We got Red Hot Chili Peppers with Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Californication, my personal favorite. Another very big album for me at the time with all those music videos they put out for it. Rollins Band with Come In and Burn. And my personal favorite from Rollins Band, Wait, which has, of course, the classic Liar. If you've never watched the music video for Rollins Band Liar, check it out. Great satire, very funny, very impressive and aggressive. Say Anything is a Real Boy. I adore this album. Like, everything about it. It's one of those go-to albums for me. We also have In Defense of the Genre, which was a really solid follow-up. And then, of course, we got some Smashing Pumpkins. We got Gish, Siamese Dream, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness in the double packaging. We have Adorer, which I'm finally conditioning myself to stop saying Adore, which I've been saying for decades now. And then Machina 2. Machina, the Machines of God, not Machina 2. Machina 2 is difficult to come by. All right, the grand finale. This is the last stack here. Let me check out the chat real quick. If you like country-ish alt-rock, check out Magnolia Electric Company, great band from Buffalo. I've heard of them. Paranoid Android is a really good song, of course. That's a classic. Radiohead Kid DJ Shadow is 100% on the same level. He also collaborates with Tom York. Awesome. Any Silverchair? No, I do not, but I remember them and I recall their songs. Rollins Band's my favorite. Yeah, Rollins is the OG. And we also have Pisces Iscariot from Smashing Pumpkins. I forgot I had that. We got Soundgarden, Super Unknown. Another rest in peace situation there. Stone Temple Pilots with Core. I feel like these guys got so much undue shit back in the day for being like a ripoff of other bands, but they were doing their own thing. Purple, which is another great album from them. Team Sleep, one of Chino Moreno's side projects from Deftones. Interesting stuff on there. Temple of the Dog, which before Pearl Jam, this was basically Pearl Jam and dude from Soundgarden. I'm so terrible. Like anytime the camera's on, I cannot remember people's names. But he was in that too. If you've ever heard the song Hunger Strike, that was like the big single. Tenacious D. Hell yes, this album is a ton of fun. Third Eye Blind with their self-titled, another classic that we listen to regularly around here. Tomahawk, Mitgas. I thought I had their debut too, but I don't. Tonic with Lemon Parade, if you remember that song. If you could only see the way she loves me. It's that band. I'm gonna get copy strike now for singing that so well, right? U2, the Joshua Tree. Not a big U2 fan, but they got some jams. Weezer, Blue Album. Gotta have that. And then wrapping it all up with Tom York's The Eraser, which I've been meaning to catch up on some of his other solo stuff, but this album is just excellent. So that's pretty much it. There's some other scattered things around the room too. I mean, you've got some vinyl up on the wall from Zeppelin, Queen, Black Sabbath. Got some Wu-Tang that you may see in the background of the videos sometimes. I think I went over my rap in a previous one too. Can't remember if that was episode 1 or 2, but yeah, we did it. We did it. That was the whole of my album collection, but it's growing every day. And so, yeah, thanks for sharing this experience with me. Now, I have like the whole house to myself for the weekend, so I am planning on, I rarely get to game anymore, but Psychonauts 2 is out and I have time to play it. And I set up a Twitch account, so it's just Metal Trenches at Twitch. When I'm on, I'll try to remember to send out the link as well. But if you just find me now, add me on Twitch, and if you want to join me while I'm playing that, I won't be on camera because I just don't want to have to wear a mask, but you will be able to hear me. And I'll be watching the chat too. If you want to hang with me later on while I'm doing that. I'm not sure when I'm going to do that yet. Probably going to like eat here, maybe hit the gym, do some other stuff. But yeah, I'll be doing other stuff. And then I'll have a video coming out tomorrow and on Monday too. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks everyone. This has been great. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.